right, welcome to The Explainer. Today we're jumping into a concept that honestly sounds like it's straight out of a sci-fi movie, but it is getting closer and closer to reality every single day. We're talking about vibe coding. So let's just start with this. What if you could build an app or, a whole website, not by typing out endless lines of code, but just by describing the feeling you want it to have, the atmosphere, the energy, yeah, the vibe.
And that right there, that's the core promise of what people are calling vibe coding. I mean, it's a total shift in how we talk to computers, right? We're moving away from these super strict commands and towards something way more intuitive. So, yeah, let's get into it. Okay, so to really get why vibe coding could be such a game changer, we kind of have to start with the old way of doing things. Let's talk about traditional code and why for so many people it's this huge wall. For forever, pretty much, coding has been all about feeding computers these super specific line-by-line instructions. And don't get me wrong, it's incredibly powerful, it's precise, but, and this is a big but, it's also locked behind this massive learning curve. It's complex, it takes a ton of time, and honestly, it's just not for everyone.
Think about it like this. Traditional coding is like following an incredibly strict recipe, One wrong ingredient, one tiny misstep, and the whole dish is ruined. The entire program can just crash. It has to be perfect, which means it's super rigid. But what if that could change? Well, that rigid world is starting to crack because there's this massive technological shift happening right now. It's the thing that's making this whole new world of creation possible. And that disruptive force? It's AI. Specifically, the huge advances we're seeing in what are called large language models, or LLMs. You've heard of them. These things have been trained on, practically the entire internet. Billions of lines of code, tons of human text. They've learned the patterns that connect the way we talk to the way computers work. They are the absolute game changers here. And look, this isn't some far-off future stuff. It's happening right now. Millions of developers are already using tools like ChatGPT to write code snippets or using Google's Gemini to help them out. This is proof of concept, right? We already have AIs that can understand plain English and spit out working code. That's a massive leap forward. So, if AI can already understand our words, where do we go from here? What's the next big step? Well, what if it could understand our intentions or even our feelings? What if it could understand our vibe? And that, my friends, is where we step into the world of vibe coding. So here's the deal. Vibe coding is basically you acting as the creative director. Instead of the programmer, you're the one setting the mood, the atmosphere, the whole vision. And the AI, it becomes your super smart technical partner that just builds it for you. Just imagine saying something like this. Create a website with soft greens and blues, flowing animations, and a peaceful vibe. Instead of banging your head against a wall for hours writing all that HTML and CSS, you just describe the experience. That is vibe coding in action, taking a feeling and making it real. And the process itself is actually pretty straightforward. Step 1, you just describe the vibe, right? You explain your vision in your own words. Then the AI takes over. It interprets what you said, not just the words, but the intent behind them. And finally, boom, it generates the code that brings that vibe to life. It's a real partnership between your idea and the AI's ability to build. And this is the really important part. What this does is it just shatters the barrier between having a great idea and having the technical skills to actually build it. It opens up creation to, well, everyone. Small business owners, artists, you name it. If you have a vision, you can create.
Okay, so this all sounds incredible, right? Like some kind of creative paradise. But as with any huge new tech, it's not that simple. Vibe coding has its own very unique and kind of tricky set of challenges we need to talk about.
Yeah, there are some serious hurdles on the horizon. I mean, we have to think about everything from the super technical stuff to the really deep ethical questions, like debugging. How do you fix code that's based on a feeling? What about privacy? Who owns the emotional data you're feeding the AI? Can we even trust this code to be stable and secure? And the big one, how do you get AIs to agree on what a chill vibe even means? It's a lot to figure out. And this quote just hits the nail on the head. How do you tell the AI that your fun was more lighthearted than manic? I mean, that's the core problem, isn't it? The biggest challenge is the most human one. We're trying to translate these messy, subjective feelings into cold, hard, functional code. Our words are already imprecise. Our feelings are even more so. Seriously, think about this question. How do you debug a feeling? If the app you created just feels wrong, what's your bug report? Hey, the vibe is a little off today. You're not fixing a line of code anymore. You're trying to fix a feeling. That is a whole new type of problem. And frankly, we don't have the tools for that, at least not yet. But look, even with all those challenges, the potential here is massive, absolutely huge. So let's imagine we do solve these problems. What does that future actually look like? Hey, remember this chart from the beginning? Now we can fill in the other side. You see the full picture. The point of vibe coding isn't to completely replace traditional coding. That's still going to be super important. The idea is to add a totally new path to creating things, a path that's more intuitive, more creative, and is all about your intent, not just perfect syntax. And the big takeaway here is that this is about so much more than just making websites faster. It's about creating technology that actually gets us, on a deeper level. Imagine an app that can adapt to your mood or software that can tell when a student is feeling confused and changes how it teaches. We're talking about a future with emotionally aware AI and maybe even seamless connections between our brains and computers. So that's vibe coding. It's this wild idea that feels like it's from the distant future, but at the same time, feels like it's right around the corner. And it really just leaves you with one big question, doesn't it? As our technology gets better at understanding not just what we say, but what we actually feel, what are we going to create? Is your next huge idea just a vibe away?